I am a professional hunter, but my last prey was not like the others. It was not deer or moose, but something much larger, mysterious, and dangerous. The Bigfoot. From a young age, I had been fascinated by the legends and stories of Bigfoot, the creature that lives in the wild, always eluding cameras and eyewitness accounts. It was a challenge I had always wanted to take on, a challenge that would bring fame and fortune if I could prove the existence of this legendary creature. I had studied every available detail, sightings, tracks, testimonies. I had become an expert in the search for Bigfoot, and I had spent years in the woods gathering clues. Finally, I had collected enough evidence to convince myself that Bigfoot was real, and my goal was within reach. I made sure to have the best equipment: cameras, traps, motion sensors. I had planned an expedition into the most remote woods, where I was certain the creature would have its refuge. I had also recruited a small team of experts, including a biologist and an experienced hunter, to ensure we had every necessary resource. That night, as we were camping in the woods, the atmosphere was tense. We had set up night cameras around the camp, and motion sensors were ready to take pictures in case of suspicious activity. We were ready to capture the photo that would change everything, that would prove the existence of Bigfoot. The first nights were quiet, with only the sound of the woods and nocturnal animals. But then, on the third night, the motion sensors activated. We watched the monitors with bated breath, trying to see what had caused the activation. And there it was, in the dim light of the night cameras. Bigfoot. It was tall, massive, with dark and dense fur that seemed to almost glow in the light. It moved with surprising grace, considering its size, and seemed to be aware of the cameras, avoiding direct eye contact with them. We were in ecstasy. We had done what no one else had been able to do. We had captured Bigfoot on film. But our joy was short-lived. In the dead of night, we heard a deafening sound coming from the surrounding woods. It was a deep roar, a howl that made the ground shake. The beast had approached our camp, and I was sure it was not pleased to have been discovered. As we prepared to gather more evidence, the creature entered our camp. It was larger than it appeared on the cameras, a giant that dominated the scene. Its presence filled the camp with an aura of terror, and we could hear the sound of its heavy footsteps vibrating the ground. It was visibly enraged, its furious eyes scanning the camp and stopping on us. We had hoped that capturing its image would be an advantage, but it seemed that we had only intensified its anger. Its fury was evident in its violent movements, tense muscles, and its mouth wide open, revealing teeth as sharp as blades. As we retreated into our tents, my heart pounded so hard it felt like it wanted to burst out of my chest. I could hear the rapid breathing of my expedition companions as we tried to remain silent, hoping the creature wouldn't find us. Then, a roar that shook the ground announced that the beast was close. The tent vibrated as the creature lifted it from one side, and we screamed in horror. We were inside a flimsy fabric shelter, completely vulnerable. The creature leaned toward us, its red eyes burning with anger, and we could feel its hot breath through the fabric. There was no more time for fear. My adrenaline reached unimaginable levels as I launched myself at the beast. I had no illusions of defeating it, but I had to at least try to defend myself and my companions. We fought fiercely, a desperate battle between man and beast. The creature grabbed me with unimaginable strength, but I managed to scratch and hit it with everything I had. My companions did the same, trying to stop the creature in its assault. The fight was brief, but intense. The creature withdrew, screaming in pain and rage. We had wounded the creature, but we had not won. It was a warning, a clear message that we should not have tried to capture or study it. After its retreat, we remained still for hours, in silence, listening to the sounds of the forest returning to normal. We had been marked by terror and the awareness that we had delved into a mystery that could not be solved. From that day on, I stopped hunting Bigfoot. I had seen its fury, its power, its intelligence. It was a creature that could not be caged or studied from a distance. It was a part of the woods, a mystery that was meant to remain just that. I had always heard about the legends of Bigfoot, but I could never have imagined how real that legend would become until I found myself alone, surrounded by its dark shadows. I had decided to embark on a solo adventure to seek evidence of its existence. My obsession with Bigfoot had led me to an abandoned village that, according to the stories, had become the realm of this mysterious creature. It was a gray day when I arrived at the village. The wooden houses, once picturesque, were now dilapidated and enveloped in vegetation. There were no signs of human life in sight, but a sense of unease hung in the air. As I ventured among the empty houses, my eyes fell upon a crude drawing on the wall of one of the houses. It was a rough portrait of a gigantic creature, with wild eyes and thick fur. There was no doubt. It was Bigfoot. I felt both excited and apprehensive. Was this the first sign of its presence in the abandoned village? Would I finally find what I was looking for? I decided to continue my exploration, scrutinizing every corner of the village. Occasionally, I could spot deep footprints in the earth, clear signs of its presence. I was not alone in this forgotten place. The night fell quickly, and as I prepared to set up my tent among the ruins, I began to hear strange noises coming from the surrounding forest. Heavy footsteps, breaking branches, unintelligible whispers. Bigfoot was approaching, and my anxiety grew by the minute. I decided to light a fire, hoping that the warmth and light would keep the creature at bay. But I knew I was only trying to reassure myself. Bigfoot was not a common beast. It was an intelligent and unpredictable entity. When Bigfoot finally revealed itself, it was an encounter I could never have predicted. I had imagined it would appear threatening and aggressive, but instead, I saw it at a distance, watching me. It was a giant of fur, with eyes that seemed to observe me closely. I couldn't help but feel as if it was assessing my presence, deciding whether I posed a threat to it or its territory. Its breath was heavy, but it did not seem ready to launch an attack. The night passed in a state of tension. I stayed awake, watching Bigfoot as it did the same. It was as if we were trapped in a sort of standoff, each uncertain of the other's intentions. The fire was our only source of comfort and security on that dark night. At one point, Bigfoot slowly approached my camp. Its heavy breathing mixed with the sound of the wind through the trees. I was paralyzed with fear as I saw it getting closer. I couldn't read its intentions, but I feared that its curiosity might turn into aggression. Then, suddenly, Bigfoot lunged at me with a thunderous roar. In an instant, my tent was knocked down, and I found myself face to face with the wild creature. It was an instinctive attack, its wild nature taking over. Without thinking, I hurled myself out of the tent and ran through the abandoned village. Bigfoot pursued me with powerful and furious steps. I could hear the sound of its giant feet covering the ground, getting closer to me. My only hope was to find temporary shelter, a place where Bigfoot couldn't reach me. I chose to head toward a waterfall I had noticed earlier. As I approached, the sound of rushing water grew, and I knew I had found my refuge. I arrived at the waterfall and, without hesitation, threw myself down the high, cascading water. The cold water surrounded me, and the sound of the rushing water drowned out my scream of terror. As I plummeted into the water, Bigfoot let out a furious roar from the top of the waterfall. But it couldn't follow me. Emerging from the water, I realized I had survived the attack of Bigfoot. My mind was filled with adrenaline as I swam to the shore and pulled myself out of the water. I had escaped an encounter with one of the world's most mysterious and terrifying creatures. While I caught my breath and tried to recover from my adventure, I was grateful to be alive. But I knew that Bigfoot would remain a haunting presence in my memory forever. My search for Bigfoot had unexpected outcomes, but it also revealed its power and unpredictability. It was a lesson I would never forget.